Hello and welcome to the Flagstaff County podcast. I'm your host, Cary Castagna, Communications Coordinator for Flagstaff County. Today I am joined by Shirley Damberger, owner of HOM of Well Being on Main Street in Daysland. Welcome, Shirley.
Thanks very much, Carrie. I was just going to say, you sound like you could be in radio. You got such a great announcer voice. It's awesome.
Oh, you're making me blush. You're listening to the official podcast of Flagstaff County. Now, Shirley, you, of course, are one of the prize sponsors for our Flagstaff Fitness Challenge, which gets underway June 2nd. But for those who may not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how HOM of Well Being came to be?
Sure. Well, first, I want to say we're proud to be a sponsor again this year. We just love and support so much the Flagstaff Fitness Challenge and all the stuff that the county does for us. We really appreciate that, not only as citizens, but as business owners as well.
Yeah, we're
Um,
thrilled to have you.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's been a few years now that this collaboration has taken place, so it's great to continue it.
Well, and I think I mean, we're definitely all about collaboration at Home of Wellbeing. Um, I guess to back it up, and how did Home come to be? Um, I worked in the event management industry for many years in a high stress position as a backstage manager, and loved the work. Still love the work. Still do some contract work for an event called the Great Outdoor Comedy Festival, where I get to travel across Canada. But that line of work can be very stressful, as lots of people's industries can be very stressful. And I found myself needing to find, um, better ways to address my own health and wellness as I started to age. And so I went back to school as a mature student and studied massage therapy, and was very fortunate after coming out of my program at Mount Memorial University to start teaching, developing curriculum, ended up being program manager of the largest massage school in Alberta, and I oversaw both their Edmonton and Calgary campuses. I ran their career fairs and work experience programs, and so I got to really get a good feel for what the industry was looking for therapists. And I was just so passionate about the education piece, not only for the therapists, but also for clients as well. And so I dove into that a little bit more and started teaching to massage therapists all across Canada courses like dynamic cupping, and I developed an oncology massage course, which was one of the first of its kind in Canada. And I was delivering that, like I say, all over, including to U of A's Faculty of Rehabilitative Medicine for their physiotherapy students. I worked at the Foothills Hospital in their cadaver lab, teaching the cadaver lab classes. And so it really super interesting experiences. And my practice was at that time focusing on rehabilitative work, palliative care work, hospice, massage, that sort of thing. Uh, but while all of that was going on, dad was really quite ill, and was really having a challenging health time. And my partner developed stage 4 cancer. And so I had a little, reset, and
Well,
where do
yeah.
I need to be located, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, it was, it was a lot. And I thought, I've got all of this experience and knowledge that I want to share, but am I in the right spot to do it? And so just before the events of 2020, I moved away from Calgary and moved back to Daysland to be closer to my dad to help out. But I was scheduled to teach 30 weeks all across Canada in 2020, and I thought, well, that's
Well,
great. When I'm home, I can help out more with family, and in the weeks that I'm traveling, it's great. And Well, we know that that didn't turn out that way. There were no 30 weeks of traveling or
No.
any weeks of traveling in 2020, right? So so then I was, really absolutely truthfully and transparently, I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of, contemplating. What am I going to do next? How can I continue to serve and share my passion? Now that I've landed here, and have to, and I hate the word, but have to pivot, right? Like I have
Yeah.
to, figure something else out. And so, so out of that came Home of Well-Being. It was like, how do I continue to share this passion and knowledge and with my community where I am.
And look where you are now. It's been a few years, right?
Yeah.
How many years has it been now that you've been established?
We've been 4.5 years now, and it's just been an incredible journey. Our community has been so supportive. We've have an amazing team of practitioners and staff at Home of Well-Being, and yeah, we're coming up to a 5-year anniversary in November. So
Oh, wow.
it's been a whirlwind. Yeah.
All right. I just want to talk a little bit now about your presentation at the recent Women's Show, which was incredibly well received. What inspired you to speak about the role of touch and living a balanced life?
Yeah, agree. It was an incredible show. The Flagstaff Community Adult Learning Council put on the women's show and did a great sellout job. It was fantastic. And their keynote speaker, Carolyn Clausen, I believe she's from Winnipeg, was speaking on a topic, wired for connection. And I really resonated with that. And I think that we are very much wired for connection, and we sometimes we lose touch or lose sight of that. And so for the event, I thought, speaking of the role of touch and how that incorporates into a balanced life, was quite topical and fit in well. For me, looking at balance, it means like, and I have referenced a wellness wheel. So if you have an image of like a wheel with different segments in it as different areas of your life, um, I, I think we really have to look at the whole person and all those different aspects to be balanced and well. If one area is not, up to snuff, as we might say, like your wheel's not going to rotate well, right? And so
Hmm.
like things like, your physical environment, the health, your financial health, your spiritual practices or spirituality. What's your physical like? What are your relationships with family, friends, intimate partners? What is that like? How's that area of career? What's your fun, recreation? That area. And if you look at all of those different aspects, then I think touch falls well into a couple of different categories where friends and family and intimate relationships and all under kind of the umbrella of healthy relationships should include healthy touch.
Hmm. And as you said, it's all about balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, you said something powerful during your presentation. Touch is as essential as food and sleep. Can you expand on that for our listeners?
Well, yeah, I like to think that there are, just a handful of real pillars that important for our well-being. You know, food and sleep are big ones,
Hmm.
as is movement, as is mindset. And I think touch is incorporated into those pillars as well. It is, like you said, crucial for our physical and emotional well-being right from infancy. They've done different studies with infants who are deprived of touch in situations. There were orphanages that they did these studies in, and the ones that did not receive nurturing touch because there just wasn't enough caregivers to go around there.
Mhm.
Those babies not only failed to thrive, but some of them did not even survive. So in infancy, it aids in the development of our brains and our nervous systems and all of our necessary functions. But that doesn't stop when we're babies. It's studies will show that touch can for adults stimulate the release of hormones like oxytocin, and that promotes feelings of trust and connection and lowers stress hormones like cortisol and helps with our pain management. It improves overall cardiovascular function, helps with the immune system, reduces stress and anxiety, and promotes connection. So to me, those are essential elements.
Wow. Yeah, that was my next question was what does science say about the importance of touch?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, that kind of touched on it there, and like science, but also like psychology. There's
Yeah.
I think his name was Sidney Girard. He's a psychologist who did a study of different cultures and how different cultures incorporate touch and what a difference that makes in their culture. And in North America, we're very low touch. There's a few
Yeah.
reasons for that, right? But in places like San Juan, for example, they studied couples and how many times that they would touch each other in normal interaction out in public, right? And in San Juan, it was like 180 times an hour. In
Wow.
Paris, it was like 110 times an hour. In Florida, it was twice an hour.
Oh,
And in London, it was zero,
oh,
right? And
geez.
and they found direct correlations between loneliness and feelings of anxiety and depression and things like that in relation to the number um, of of good nurturing touch that was received.
Wow, that's interesting.
Oh, very interesting, right?
So, in a world that often feels disconnected, how can safe, nurturing touch support emotional and mental wellness?
Well, I think that there are so many ways that touch can be beneficial, as we said, like around the um, not only the physical side of things with reducing stress hormones and increasing the response of the parasympathetic nervous system and those kinds of things, but also from an emotional level. Studies show that touch can change your biochemistry. As little as one massage can change your biochemistry, right?
Hmm.
And the way that you respond. Um, when we move and our skin is moved, we activate these pressure receptors or nerve endings, um, and that changes the function of our physiology, right?
Hmm. Now I'm starting to feel guilty because you're talking to a person that has never had a massage in his life.
Okay.
So,
And that's fair. Like because like I say, we're a low touch culture, right?
yeah,
And some people have never experienced much in the way of nurturing healthy touch that doesn't have a sexual connotation to it or a intimate connotation to it. So
yeah,
I think in North America we're very much touch deprived. Even before 2020 and the events that unfolded there, I think we were very much a touch deprived society. So I think that there are some real ways that we can as individuals help ourselves into that journey of exploring safe and healthy touch.
yeah. And then, yeah, that was my next question was,
Yeah.
yeah, what are some everyday ways people can incorporate healthy, intentional touch into their lives or relationships?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I think, obviously that connection through touch from another is super important in a healthy relationship. But I think there's lots of ways that just as an individual, you can initiate some of that for yourself. One of the things is yoga or stretching. It's like a form of self massage, because we're moving that musculature and stretching, and getting those stretch receptors to activate. So that can be really helpful. Any kind of stretching or yoga. That also ties into the fitness challenge idea, as does exercise. Exercise is a really important one as well. And you don't really think about exercise as a form of self touch, but it
No.
really, you are moving, right? And
Yeah.
you're activating those muscles. Fast walking, because we've got receptors on the bottom of our feet as well. It moves our lymphatic system. It helps to increase our circulation and blood flow and bringing oxygen to the tissue. And things like self massage, just different techniques. We're instinctively, we know how to massage ourselves, even as little children. When you fell and banged your knee or something, right?
Yeah.
You rub your knee, right, to make it feel better, right? And
Yeah.
so we instinctively know that self massage and how to make things feel better. You might, grab your own shoulder and rub it a bit when it's sore and achy. And so we know how to do it. We just tend to not do it enough for ourselves.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So now I'd like to move on to therapeutic practices. You mentioned dynamic cupping earlier. Can you explain what dynamic cupping is and how it benefits the body?
Yeah, like I said, I spent quite a few years actually teaching dynamic cupping, but it was because I came across it myself and just fell in love with how effective I felt it was for me and for my clients. Uh, Dynamic cupping has been around for a little over 5,000 years, and has been a part of every ancient culture's medicine toolkit. You can find evidence of it in textbooks dating back to the papyrus, like the earliest known medical texts.
Hmm,
So this ancient form of therapy didn't use the silicone cups that we use
no.
today, but they would use like things like bones and shells and whatever they had in their environment to create a type of suction that would, when these cups are moved around or placed stationary on the body, that suction helps to free adhesions between the muscle and fascial layers. It increases circulation and blood flow, bringing more oxygen to the tissue. It can help break down scar tissue and just generally helps improve the health and movement of or range of motion of that tissue.
All right, you mentioned the importance of fascia health. Why is this layer of tissue so critical, and how does cupping support it?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Um, Fashion, without getting too nerdy, although I
Yeah.
love being nerdy, I, but I like to give, I always like to give my students and I like to give my clients a kind of a visual, because I think when you can have a picture in your mind of what something's like, it helps you to understand and remember it more. So, this is totally oversimplified, but fascia is like a liquid filled mesh of strings of collagen and elastin, and then this substance or a clear gel, which is called ground substance. And so the fascia, if you can kind of imagine it like an orange, right? And
Hmm.
the outside of the orange is what you would call your superficial fascia. And then inside, just inside that white part, the rind would be what you would think of as your deep fascia. And then the little segment of the orange would be called like visceral fascia. And inside this fascia are called cells called fibroblasts. And those are what manufacture that collagen and elastin and the other fibers that create um, that substance. And their job is to clean and repair and replace damaged parts of the fascia. And tying this back into kind of these building blocks, the way that one of the ways we can help that fascia to be healthy is by the food that we eat and what we put into our body, but also by keeping that tissue healthy. Another thing that's in that cellular matrix that you call it is something called hyaluronic acid, and that acts like WD-40
Okay.
for the body, right? And
Yeah.
helps it helps tissues from becoming sticky or stuck together, and so they can glide more freely. I often say that the cups are like pulling the muscle and fascia layers apart, like pieces of Velcro being pulled apart.
All right. For someone interested in trying cupping or massage therapy, what should they know before starting?
I think there's a couple of contraindications. If somebody is very compromised. For example, I always think of pumps and filters. Pumps and filters in the body need to be working well before you want to put any more stress on the body. So things like our kidneys and our liver are our filters, and our heart is our pump, right? And
Hmm.
so if issues with those organs, cupping might be too much for that person, just as a deep tissue massage might be too much for that person, right?
Yeah.
So there are certain conditions that would not be appropriate for cupping. If there's an acute injury, then maybe there's been a whiplash or something like that, it might not be appropriate right at that acute phase. Maybe down the line when we're trying to break down scar tissue and rehabilitate, that might be appropriate. But we always do at Home of Wellbeing a really thorough and in-depth intake, and that's why we ask those questions, is like to try and get a feel for what that individual might need for a treatment plan. And so, we would want to make sure that it was appropriate for an individual before we would do cupping with them.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk a little bit about living well and balanced, and I want to get a little bit personal, a little bit more personal anyway, because you did kind of touch on it a little bit in the introductory questions. But what does wellness mean to you personally, Shirley?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Carrie. And I know people always say that, but anything that makes you reflective, I think is really important. And I think those kinds of big life questions we just don't reflect on and ask ourselves enough, and
Yeah.
check in on a regular basis, right? So yeah, wellness, like I do, like I say, refer to that wellness wheel, and I try and check in with myself on at least a monthly basis, and say, okay, like how's everything going, Shirley? Where are
Yeah.
where are you at in all these different areas? And are you focused on the things that are meaningful for you long term? Are you balanced? I read a book a while back called Focus by Pedram Shoja, and he talks about life as being like a life as your garden, right? And do you have enough water to water the areas of your garden and keep it healthy? And so I love that analogy because I love to garden. Uh,
Hmm.
but it also makes me think about, um, what are the thing like where are there weeds in my garden?
Oh,
and
exactly.
what
There's,
you know
yeah,
and what and
those
what
darn weeds.
right? I know, and we all have them, right? And
Yeah.
so to me, it's like being able to maintain my garden, right? And that's for wellness for me means being able to focus and feel at peace with the areas that are important to me.
All right. And you advocate for sustainable wellness. What does that look like in real life?
Yeah, because real life is a whole lot different than like out of a book, right?
Yeah, the out of the textbook. Yeah.
Right.
Real life can be very different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I did a podcast probably about a year and a half ago with Amanda Wagner, and she was asking me kind of a similar question. And I was like, "Okay, Amanda, these are my non-negotiables. These are the things that help me." And I think a couple weeks later, my dad passed away, and all the things that I said were non-negotiables and things that I do every day, you
Hmm.
know, I wasn't doing them every day, right? And that's real life,
Yeah.
right? But I think if you have a good foundation of practices that you can bring yourself back to and be gentle with yourself to say, okay, you know, these are the things that I know can help. And maybe I just have to implement them like one little baby step at a time.
Yeah.
It can be really helpful and sustainable. So for me, what that looks like is having those, whatever, annual goals. Like, you know, you in all these areas of your life, you have these goals, but how do you break that down into 90-day goals that you can perhaps readjust if you need? But it comes down to, you know, not those even 90-day goals. Like, what are you doing every day? What are your habits every day? And are you keeping promises to yourself? That's to me, like, am I keeping a promise to myself to do this, not because somebody else thinks that it's good for my health, or that the, you know, this person or that healthcare study says this, but what helps me feel better every day? And am I committed to myself to do that for myself?
All right, Shirley. So how do you personally stay grounded and balanced with all the work you do in helping others?
Yeah, I mean, it's a physically demanding job, but it's also emotionally demanding for sure,
Hmm.
because we see all kinds of things. I do a lot of palliative care and hospice end of life work as well. So that's you know, demanding and rewarding, super rewarding as well. But yeah, you do have to have some tools. For me, um, uh, a walk, I try and get a walk in every morning. And one of those things, like, you know, let's be real, not every morning is lovely to go outside for a walk, although that's super, you know, helpful to be out in nature. That helps you with your immune system as well. But I bought myself a walking pad a while back, and I've had treadmills where, like, on the days that I don't feel like going out in the snow and the wind and the rain,
Yeah.
I'll do my walk inside and watch a gardening show then. But so I do my walk in the morning. I really, really focus on trying to eat as little processed food as I can. And again, I'm real. I've had my pizza and this and that too, right? Like,
Hmm.
where you know, you but for the most part, I really try to focus on whole non-processed foods, which is super important for me. I try to get my 8 hours of sleep a night, which it doesn't always happen either. That's not always realistic, but I try and put a real priority on sleep. And for me, um, being able to meditate every night before bed is has been a game changer for me. So at the end of my day, I kind of wind down by doing a little stretching, a little yoga. Sometimes that's as little as 10 minutes. But if I can get a little stretch in at the end of the day, it helps to shut my brain down, tell it it's time to turn off for the day. And then after I do my yoga, I'll do a meditation, a guided meditation, typically. And for me, that's I'm just looking here. It's 2,676 days consecutively,
Wow.
which is over 7 years. But for me, that is the one non-negotiable. When everything else in my day maybe doesn't turn out, uh, I will religiously do a meditation, because it has been so helpful for me in getting good quality sleep. Um, I guess one of the other things, and it's around mindset again, um, I have a little list for morning, like good morning mindset, and I have a list for evening mindset, to try and, like, little questions that I have for myself at the end of the day, like, what what am I proud of today? What kinds of things could I have done differently to feel more connected to others today? Those kinds of questions to just help you kind of reflect on the day past, and in the morning, you know, kind of set yourself up for the day that you want to have.
Wow. So let's get that. Let's have you say that again. You haven't missed a meditation session in a day um, in over 7 years.
Yes, for sure. Yep.
Wow.
And even in the middle of like events where I'm traveling across the country or out of the country every single day.
So that goes to show the importance that it plays in your life and
It's
in
so
your
important.
wellness routine.
Yeah. Like to me, it's the pivotal thing. Like that's so important to me.
And do you just make an appointment to do it, or do you have a set time?
So I always do it at night. And not that I never meditate during the day, because lots of times I'll put on even like a guided meditation and go for a walk out in nature, right?
Yeah.
And so you can meditation does there's no one right way or wrong way to do it. Meditation can be moving, meditation can be done completely still, it can be guided, it can be silent, it can be whatever it is to you, right? It's just that time
Hmm.
to actually reflect. And contrary to popular opinion, it is not about stopping your thoughts. It's about observing your thoughts, right? Is
Yeah.
allowing whatever comes up to come up and to process it, to let it move through, right? We hold on to things and spiral and spiral and spiral on thoughts, and we have some studies say 10,000 thoughts a day, right? And so all of that busyness in our head at some point needs to be calmed down and soothed, right? And
Oh,
to
for
get our
sure.
nervous system to calm down and soothe itself, we have to calm that brain, and that it it's a lifelong practice. That's why they call it a meditation practice, because you
Yeah.
you practice at it every day. Yeah,
Yeah. Just like brushing your teeth, right?
that's right, exactly. And that's what it's become for me, is habit, right? It's just like uh, I know, I think it's James Clear in Atomic Habits. He writes about habit stacking. And
Hmm.
so you just like stack it in, like you wouldn't think of, not brushing your teeth before you go to bed. So to me, I don't think about not meditating. Like it's not an option. I do it and whatever, right? And so it's just become a routine, just something that I do almost unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
Which
So,
sounds weird.
oh no, it makes sense though. But what advice would you give to someone who is just starting their wellness journey and might feel a little bit overwhelmed?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. Like, just, I think when as we do tend to do in North America, we try and jump into it all, like everything all at once. And that's never helpful.
Hmm.
We aren't built that way, right? If I think we want to be able to celebrate the small wins. So if you start out by like, I'm going to drink 3 glasses of water a day, every day. And I'm going to do that for 30 days. And you do that. And yeah, look, I kept that promise to myself. I did that. Good for me. I'm more hydrated than I was a month ago, right? That's a
Hmm.
win, right? And like then those little wins, that little momentum starts to build upon itself, right? And so with real basics, to me, really the basics, like getting getting good sleep is so important to us to be able to restore and rejuvenate and be clear, like not have brain fog, not have tired achy muscles. It's That's how we heal and restore, is through sleep. So little things like that, committing to getting your 8 hours of sleep a night, or what, like those are the building blocks. And once you get some of those essentials in place, like enough sleep, enough water to drink, cleaning up your diet a little bit, uh, you know, again, taking the processed foods out. I'm not advocating for one type of diet or another. And in fact, I hate the word diet because
Yeah.
it has such negative connotation, right? But eating foods that fuel you with good energy, right? Not that bog you down. It's like it's like throwing a damp big old log on a fire that you're just starting with some kindling, right? Like
Hmm.
the fire is our metabolism, right? And when we put good kindling and nice, dry, good, healthy wood on it, the fire burns well, right? But when you throw damp, soggy, things that aren't really good fuel for the fire, that affects the whole fire and its capacity to burn, right?
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So me, I just think, to start off small, do little tiny, have little tiny wins, and and then start to build in all the areas of your life. Don't just, go full on, marathon training, like
Hmm.
that's, you have to have balance in all the areas
Yeah, no,
first.
that makes sense. So how can people learn more about Home of Well-Being or book an appointment with you?
Yeah, so you can, one of the best ways is to go onto our website, homeofwellbeing.com. That's HOM, so no E on the end. So kind of like, home.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, homeofwellbeing.com is a good way to get in touch with us. Or you can call the office for sure. It's 780-679-5997. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. So we've got a great following in our social media area as well. So
Yeah, Megara does a great job.
she does a tremendous job.
Yeah.
She is just like phenomenal, and uh, I didn't talk about it, but we're one of the partner organizations in the Daysland Health and Wellness Hub. And Megara is also incredible about showcasing all the work and information of the partner, the Wellness Hub as well.
Oh, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Health and Wellness Hub is an initiative that a number of partners felt passionate about and have come together over the last year or so to just really collaborate and help promote the idea of uh, wellness services and education within the community and surrounding area of Daysland. And seeing how we can build upon these services and collaborate to promote healthier lifestyles in the community. And healthier communities, physically and mentally, lead to healthier communities in every other way. So yeah,
Oh,
we're
for
we're
sure.
part of that. Hey.
So, where is that? Is it still kind of in the development stage, or you're making some
Yeah,
progress?
Yeah, we're making some progress. We've got some events coming up over the next several months. So there'll be different campaigns and different events that are going on over the next year. We've got a calendar of activities that are coming up that each of the partner organizations are taking a lead role on. Um, we've got a grant application in at the moment, so we're waiting to hear back on some grant funding to assist with some of the administration around those events and programs. But we're moving forward with the partner organizations taking the lead role on various activities. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, so we got to stay tuned and see
Yes.
what comes up. All right, is there anything I'm forgetting to ask you, or anything that you'd like to mention?
Mm, not that I can think of, Carrie. Like I guess there's one thing, and we talked about it at the start, and maybe bring it full circle back around. The connection piece, I think, is so important. Um, I think there's a quote that I love by a fellow by the name of Ram Dass, and he says, "We're all just walking each other home." And I love that idea, and I think that really drives what we do at Home of Wellbeing and with the Daysland Health and Wellness Hub. The idea that we are truly of service to our community is such a privilege and an honor to be able to serve people in that way. And so Yeah, I think that as we see events unfold around the world and in our own communities that are, maybe dividing people, I think that focus on connection is more important and more powerful than ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great message to leave with the listeners. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else you want to add, I just want to thank you, Shirley. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on the Flagstaff County podcast, and we should probably do this again sometime.
I would love that, Cary.
All right. Well, you take care. All the best.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity. You take care as well.